Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Some of us probably still sleeping too early. 6 a.m. UK, I guess. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for people to join. And to others who have joined, welcome. Welcome to the part 3 and the final part of our GitHub First Issues tracker. The music is going on. I played some music, right? Yes. Hello. How's it going? This is what, day 6? Yes, something like that. Okay, let me turn down the volume a bit and let's get started. So step 1, please register. So let me give you the registration link. There you go. Please make sure that you register for the event. Would really appreciate that. And okay, let's get started. So yesterday we had done quite a bit of things, and for today's the plan was basically to get data from MongoDB and show it on Streamlit. So that was the plan for today. Hello. Yes. So yeah, that was the plan for today, and let's continue on that plan. Now I am going to talk more about what we have done. We'll run the code that we have till now. I thought I had cleared my database, but if I hadn't, let me just drop it, and now it should be fine. Yep. So empty database, and let's continue from yesterday. Hey, hi. And yeah, let's continue from yesterday. What we had, I will run the code and I'll also talk through it so that folks who have not joined me for first and second session, they could have a quick revise. And then we'll continue on building a Streamlit app. So this is the code that we have. Don't need this. This should be fine. And what else? What else do I not need? Okay, I'll run this code for now, and meanwhile we can I'll also delete few of the things from here. Oops, not that. This, and this. So all of them get deleted. Yep. And okay, yep, that sounds about right. We also should later on focus on how to merge the issues together. Like we have so many files, like new results 1 2 3 4.json. We can also later on check how to merge them together, but let me first run this and then we can talk about it. Okay, So what had we done yesterday? So yesterday we started building this GitHub Good First Issues tracker. For someone who is not familiar, uh, yep, there's a good first issue, which basically is a list of issues that have the label of. I go to the label and good first issue. So these are some good first issues for a beginner to contribute to open source projects. Okay, so we are building a good first issue tracker, which basically will keep a track of all such issues in all different projects. Okay, so there are so many projects here. There's Microsoft Terminal first contributions, there's files, community files, responsively org, responsively app. Like there's so many projects from so many uh, companies, people, owners, whatever you can call them, and they all have issues that are good for beginners. Okay, so the label good first issue. Okay, these are the issues that are good for beginners. So we basically were creating an app for the same. Okay, so we yeah, so we're creating an app for it. We were getting these issues from GitHub. So this is where we are hitting the API endpoint. So we were getting these issues. I think this is too small. Yeah, this should be fine. Yeah, we were getting these issues from GitHub. Then we were creating different files, which let's say is results.json. Okay, the results.json is basically data which looks exactly like this. The only difference is that this is or not the difference, the problem that we saw was the results that is returned. So GitHub says there are 5170 issues that have the label of good first issue, but in this items array or in this items list, or yeah, I think these are the only two names that I know. So in this items array or in this items list, the problem was that there were only 30 results. So we found a way to resolve that. That is, we kind of looped over the URL and we added a parameter called as page number, which would take us to 4 different pages, like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 different pages. And that is why we end up with 3 different files of results. Then we realize that there's so much data in this array that is not needed. So we wrote code to kind of clean that data up. And this is our cleaned up data. So this is what we have done till now. And then, oh, we also did one more thing. We were pushing this data to MongoDB. So if you remember, start of call, I deleted everything in front of you. It was empty. But now if I reload, we have data in this 300 data, like 300 documents. So we also wrote code to push data to MongoDB. Should be somewhere here, insert into database. Yes. We created a database and then the collection of issues, and we inserted that data into MongoDB. And all this response that you see here, which looks like logs, this is something that we created as a custom function, time tracker. Okay, so we were tracking how much time does it take for the things to happen, and we also tracked the total execution time for the script, and it took like 42 seconds. So yeah, that is majorly what we did. So now let me just move away from the screen so that you can focus completely on code, and let's continue building. So what are we going to build? Now I had so many things on mind, but let's go through it one by one. The first and foremost should be what I promised, which is Streamlit application, right? So let's start building a Streamlit application. And when, if like, I'm sure we'll have time, but when we do end up having time, we can kind of refactor our code. So we can refactor it to merge different files. We have three new results .json, right? We can write code to merge these three files together into one. Let's call it combined JSON, combined results.json. So yeah, that is one piece of code that I would like to do. Also, some refactors like this can become a function, this can become a function. Uh, yeah, like basically some small refactors. I'm looking forward to doing some small refactors, but we'll do that after we complete the Streamlit application. Uh, okay, so let's move on. Let's create a new file. So this is what I am going to ask all of you. Please create a new file. Let's call it streamlit underscore app.py. So it's a Python file, Streamlit application. Also, let me quickly share this REPL with you in chat so that, you know, if you have not joined me before, you want to follow along, you want to have the code, you can quickly copy paste it. Okay, so let's start with the Streamlit application. So step one, what do we need? Well, we need Streamlit. So let's do import Streamlit as st. That makes me realize it should have Streamlit documentation. Let's go to the docs and let me share this in chat with you all. Yep, there you go. So Streamlit docs in the chat. There's also the REPL that I'm working on in the chat. So you can quickly take that and start coding along with me. So Streamlit, so we are importing here. We have not installed it, but if you remember from yesterday, Poetry or basically Replit does it for us. It will install it if there is a package that we're using and it is not installed. Replit will automatically install it for us, which is good for us. So, okay. What else? Well, we are going to call the data from MongoDB. So I'm going to also import pymongo dot, what was it? Mongo client. From pymongo.mongo client, import Mongo client. Okay, that's what we imported, right? Yep. So from pymongo.mongo client, import Mongo client. So that's what we did. What else? I think this should be good enough for now. Let's load our password. Yes. So since we are importing Mongo client, so what am I planning to do? I'm planning to call this database. Yes, planning to call this database, get all the results, or maybe at least parts of those results, and show it to the user on a web UI, which means that I first need to make a connection with this database and then query the database to get the result. So that's what I'm doing. Now, if you remember from yesterday, we had stored our MongoDB password in secrets. So if from the bottom left, uh, if you scroll down, there is secrets. And in the secrets, we had stored two things: GitHub token, which was basically our personal access token for GitHub. And there was the Mongo password that we had stored. So I am basically going to import that or call that. We can do os dot, like they give the code directly here, so you have to do os dot environ and call that. So I'm going to paste that, but it also needs to import os, which I have not imported yet. So let me do that. So import os. Perfect. So now we have the Mongo password. So let's say, let me add some comment. Load MongoDB password from secrets. Okay. So once that is done, let's make a MongoDB, not FB, no MongoDB connection. Okay. Let's make a MongoDB connection. So how would we make that? Again, if you remember from yesterday, kind of, so we have this whole MongoDB URI or URL. You can name it whatever you want. It is basically a link to our MongoDB. Okay, where had we like where did we get it from? So if you go to overview and you click on connect, click on drivers and choose whatever Python version. This URI is what we need. So I'm going to actually copy paste it from here. So I'm going to copy this line. This is our MongoDB URI or UR. Okay, and paste it right here. Now it is missing my password, and my password is not password. So that is why I have added a F string. Okay, so F string allows me to add a variable in this. So now what is the variable? Well, my password is stored in this Mongo underscore password variable. So that's what I'm going to put there. And that gets us, like, now we have a proper Mongo URI, URL. Then what is our database name? So let's go back. I'm going to click out of it, click on browse collections, and the database is GitHub issues. Collection name is issues. So let's do that. So database underscore name is GitHub underscore issues, and collection underscore name is issues. So that's our MongoDB configuration. It's not connection actually. This is our configuration. Okay, because now we will do the connection. Connect to MongoDB. This is our configuration. These are the basic things that are required to connect to MongoDB. And now let's do the actual connection. Let's say we create a variable called as client, which will basically take this Mongo client that we have imported and pass it the Mongo URI. Okay, so that's how we create the connection. Now once we have created a connection, we need to tell the client that please go and get me this database. Okay, get this database. And once you have that database, we are telling it that, hey, please go and get a database, give me back this collection. Sorry, just was going to sneeze and now it basically went back. That's so bad. Does it ever happen with you, like you're going to sneeze and then it just goes away? Ah, can't seem to focus now. Okay, so client is basically we are creating a client or a connection with Mongo, our Mongo cluster. Yes, and then once the connection has been created, then we are telling our cluster to return us this particular database, which is GitHub issues. Now inside GitHub issues, we have a collection called as issues, right? So there it is. So if I click on this, see, it says create a collection. So inside this collection is issues. So that's what we are talking about. And as you can see, GitHub issues is the database. So there's database, there's collection. Perfect. And we can create more databases. We can create more collections inside databases. Winter, yeah, possible. Okay. So let's move on. Now we have made the connection, but what should I do next? Uh, we should load the data, right? So let's write a function to load data from MongoDB. Okay, so let's create a function. Let's call it load data, and that takes in two things. We are going to give it page size and page number. Now, why is that? Like, what is the idea? So if you go over to MongoDB, as you can see, it says that it gets 1 to 20 of many. So at a time, it is able to display 20 results. And then when someone clicks on next, it gets 21 to 40, right? So it's basically getting 20 results at a time to display. And from my perspective, that is good, and even we should do that. So we should get only 20 results at a time to show. Okay, so let's go back to our Streamlit app. So at a time, we should get only 20 results. So that's what I'm going to tell the load data. We'll tell it that step one, it needs page size. So page size is how many results? 20 results. Then it also needs page number. Like what page currently is it on? Let's think of it visually. So if I go back to our sheets yesterday, so this is our first 20 results, and it is on page 1. So on page 1, our first 20 results. Then we move on to page 2. It should get me 21 to 40, right? And then page 3, it should get me like 41 to 60, so on and so forth. So now we need to think of something which will tell it that, hey, this is the current page number that you are on. Get me the results for, like, get me 20 results for this current page. So let's write kind of an equation. We can call it, let's say, skip value, which is nothing but take the page size, which in our case, let's say it's 20, multiplied by whatever the page number user has said minus 1. So, okay, let's add some numbers to this calculation and think. If page size is 20, so let me also write that here. Hash. Yep. Page size is 20 multiplied by, if page number is 1, so 1 minus 1 will give me 0. 20 into 0 is 0. So skip value is going to be 0, which means do not skip anything. Now if page number is 2, okay, so then 20 into 2 minus 1, so 2 minus 1 1, so 20 into 1. Oh, that feels like I am like doing some childish math, but the idea is here now it will say that skip the first 20 values. Okay, skip the first 20 values and return me the like from 21 to, let's say, 40. If page number is 3, so then it will say that please skip the first 40 values and return me from 41 to 60. So that is the idea of this whole skip value. Skip some number of values and return me after that. So now we are going to tell it that return, and since it is going to be kind of an array, so we can do something like list and collection. See this collection? That's collection dot find. Okay, so find the values, but also skip. Okay, if I hover over it, it should, okay, yeah, skips the first skip results of this cursor. So the number of results to skip. So what? How many results does it need to skip? It needs to skip the number of results in skip value, but also limit. So limit the number of results to return. So limit page size. So we are telling it that go to this collection, find the data, skip whatever needs to be skipped. So example, once again, let's say we are on page 3. Okay, so 20 multiplied by 3 minus 1. So this will give us 40, right? Yeah, 40. So get all the data, skip the first 40 data, and return me 20, next 20 data. So 41 to 60 is what is going to be returned. Is that calculation somewhat clear? Like, do you get an understanding of what I was trying to do? Would appreciate a response there. Exactly perfect. Okay, nice. This feels good that, okay, it kind of made it clear. Okay, we should also create one more thing. Uh, the calculation is correct. Yeah, I'm not worried about calculation more. I'm worried about if I made it clear for you all. But okay, I get the gist. So okay, so now I am going to skip over one thing. Or I don't know. Let me think. Uh yeah, let's get some output of some things, and then we can display the data that we have received. Yep. So step one, let's go to our documentation. Go to API reference, and I remember there is something called as title. Display text in title formatting. If I go inside it, it will say, okay, this is a title, st.title. And if you want to make something italic, you can do underscore. The way we do it in WhatsApp, similar, is you can give it a color, like blue, cool. And then this is our emoji, again, the way we do it in WhatsApp. So yeah, like I think this is going to be pretty cool. I'm going to go with the basic, but I would love to see someone try the second one. Uh, so let me go with st dot title. Uh, what title can we give this one? Uh, let's say GitHub good first issues, and I'm going to add GHW just so that people remember if someone watches this later. Then let's do some pagination settings. Okay, we're going to say that the page size is going to be 20, so return 20 results. And what else? The page number. So for page number, let's create a variable called as page number, and let's go here. Input widgets, I guess. Number input. Yeah. So we need something like this. As you can see, the number input, it has like insert a number, and there's also a plus and minus. So we can use that kind of like a page number, but we also should define a minimum and a maximum value. Okay. So I think that is an option here. Yeah, you can define what is the minimum value, what is the maximum value, and what is the value, like what should it render first. You can also define the step, but the step defaults to 1 if the value is an int, or 0.01 if it's not defined. So in our case, our value will be an integer. So our minimum value will be 1, and the value to show to the user will be 1. And we are going to have this on a sidebar. So there is something called as st.sidebar. If I can find it somewhere. Yep. So st.sidebar, wow, they don't have an option here, but it basically shows things on the left hand side sidebar. Okay. So if there is a element that you want to display on the sidebar, on the left sidebar, then you do this st.sidebar and then whatever element that you want to show. So we are going to do st.sidebar dot, the element is number input. So number underscore input. Okay. And it can have a label. A label, yeah, could be anything. It's basically, let's say, what's the title of this number input? So page number, it's going to be the title. We are going to define the min underscore value as 1, and the value to show to the user as 1. And you know what? Let's quickly, if name equals to main, then call this main function. So let's see it visually how it's working. I am going to go to shell. So there is one thing, let me tell you. Now I think this is replit thing. Like when you click on run, it only runs the main.py. It will not run the streamlit underscore app.py unless we explicitly call it inside main.py. So I'm going to go and do something like pip install Streamlit. So this is one thing that we need to do. Pip install Streamlit, that will install Streamlit. And if you see on the left hand side, there is a poetry law py project dot, yeah, poetry law. Okay, so this is because of a dependency manager which is called as poetry. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. We are going to go poetry add Streamlit. Like the reason why I'm running both of them is because when I was doing some Streamlit work before, and you only do pip install Streamlit, it is not picked up by Replit somehow. And if you only do poetry add Streamlit, then when you run it on shell, something breaks. So that is why we should basically run both these commands. I have pasted them in the chat. Go onto the shell, paste this and hit enter. Let it download and load Streamlit. Now Streamlit is a big library. It has like so many internal dependencies that it can take quite some time to download. While that is happening, let me check. Okay, what have we accomplished till now? We have accomplished putting data on MongoDB database, and now we are creating a Streamlit application. Can we import or export database file under Excel format? We can export data as CSV, I think, which you can open in Excel. For importing data, you can import JSON data into MongoDB. Okay, this is going to take quite some time. Meanwhile, yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I can do other than wait. So let's wait for this to happen. Uh, Again, the command to run is in chat, so please make sure that you run that. Also, if you don't know about poetry, uh, not poetry clothing, poetry. So if you have worked with npm in the past, like if you're coming from a JavaScript background, then you definitely know about npm, right? So poetry is kind of like that. You can use poetry to manage your Python dependencies. Normally you would load your dependencies from a requirements.txt file in Python, or you can kind of do a pip freeze and get a list requirements.txt file and all. Uh, but let's say you're working in an Anaconda environment, and at that time, if you do install some libraries with conda install, and then you install some libraries with pip install, pip freeze will not give you a list of libraries that you installed with conda install. So instead of that, if you basically only use poetry to add your dependencies, you can always have a track of it. And similar to what npm does, in if you are doing, let's say, working on a JavaScript project, and you install some library using npm install, it will create a package lock.json. uh, you can also make poetry create a lock file. So a lock file is something where your dependencies, uh, exact dependencies are kind of listed inside it. So if someone wants to uh, take your project, install it, so they can get the exact versions as you had on your machine with the log file. So then no more of, hey, it works on my machine, but it doesn't work on yours, whatever issue. Okay. Writing log file installed. Okay, so poetry has installed everything. So let me first clear it. So I'm just going to write clear and hit enter. And then next is, how do I run this app? So since we installed Streamlit, so we do Streamlit run and the name of the app, which is Streamlit underscore app.py. Hit enter. And it will first ask you if you want to receive any promotions, give us our email. You can just hit enter to leave it blank. And then a web view should open. You can click on show web content, or there is a open in new tab button here. So click on that to open it in a new tab. And this is the sidebar that I was talking about on the left hand side. That's the page number. So if I click on plus, it is basically going to increment my page numbers, and yeah, minus should decrement it, of course, and it will not go below 1. But we have not defined a max value, so it can go to like a million. So maybe that is one of the improvements that you could do. Can you define a max value? So what else can we add to our UI? Uh, Oh, we can show a loader. So loader while fetching data. So we can create something called as a loader, which will be shown whenever we fetch new data. So to do that, you can use something called as spinner. So st.spinner. So it is something that is displayed temporarily while executing a block of code. And or what you have to do is you can write something and basically add a sleep time. You don't need to do this st.success done. So I'm going to go with the basic one, which is st.spinner and loading or the dot, and you just do a time dot sleep of, let's say, 5 seconds. It needs time, so let's import time. Okay. So we have kind of defined a loader. If we go back, rerun, there's a button called as rerun there. As you can see, there is a spinner right now, spinner which says loading. Okay. We can increase it to, let's say, 10 seconds so that you can have a look at it better. So there's a loading and there's the spinner, and let me also increase the page size a bit. So this is the spinner that I was talking about. So in the background, the data is being fetched, but on the front end, at least you can kind of see that, hey, something is loading. Now, interestingly, you can add even emojis to this loading. So I am going to go over WhatsApp and I'm going to copy something like a tortoise, which basically says that, hey, we are loading it quickly. And if I go over here, reload it, there we go. Tortoise is kind of loading our page. Okay, so I think that's enough fun right here. So, but we can reduce it back to 5 seconds now that you know that, yeah, it works. And now let's talk, or basically add code to load the data. So I'm going to come out of this with and just add load data. How do we get the shell beside? So this shell, you can get it from tools. Okay. Once you get it from tools, let's say okay, let me just stop mine, close that. So if you go over to shell, drag it, and then you can basically drop it anywhere. If you see that brown highlights, that means that's where the shell can go. I'm going to drop it in here. Okay. So if you drag and drop it to whatever part of the page that you want, you can get it. Some more questions. Can we optimize the database size? Optimize the database size. Oh, that is curious. Like, I don't exactly understand that. So the size of the database should basically be the size of your data. So if we go over to MongoDB right now, let me hit enter to reload it. And as you can, did I run the query twice? Okay, I might have. But anyways, yeah, as you can see right here, there is a logical data size and there is the storage data size. So the size of the data, basically your documents, is going to take this much storage, whatever you do. So so I don't think you can kind of reduce the data size, if you know what I mean. You can break down your data into different parts so that you don't have to load all of them together. So you can break it down into different collections if you want, but that's the max that you could do. Okay, let's do load data. Okay, so for loading data, all we need to do is data equals to, let's call the load underscore data, which takes in two things. It takes the page size, which is coming from, let's say here. So it takes the page size and it takes the page number, which we can provide from here. And let's do now, let's write a function just above our Streamlit app. So below our load data, display data function. Okay, so that should be pretty easy. Def display underscore data record. Okay, so I say record, basically it will take whatever data has been returned and it will show that. And what all do we need to show? So we know that in our data we have issue title, so we can say that, okay, from the record get the issue underscore title. I can show you the data quickly. Let's go over to a JSON formatter, paste it. So this is what we have. Okay, so there's issue title, repo name, issue URL. I can actually copy this, come over to our Python, and let me paste that, but also put it in a comment. So that way is you know what data I'm talking about. So from the JSON record, pull out the issue title. Now the next would be, let's say, repo underscore name. So from the record, pull out the repo name. What else? Issue URL, of course. So issue. So I'm going to basically just get everything. Issue URL is going to be record of issue underscore URL. And can we change it? So let me copy this and let me paste it 1, 2, 3, and 4 times more. And now the next one is label name. I can copy that, come over here, do a Control D on Windows, Command D on Mac, and paste it. So that basically selects and pastes the next, but do it only twice. If you select all of the issue URLs, it will rename everything. So label URL. So we did issue URL, label name, label URL, then state. Copy that, come here, state, and there's locked. So select, Control D, paste. Okay, so that ways we have received all the data. So now the next step would be to show it. So we can use something like a markdown. So st.markdown displays string formatted as a markdown. Okay, so if let's say this one, Streamlit is really cool. So in markdown, if you do 1 star around the text, it becomes your, what do you call, italics. Define the colors, and there's also, you can define emojis like this. Yeah, multiple things that could be done. So let's actually do that. So st.markdown, and I'm going to say that it's a f string because we are going to put some data. And for title, you can do something like double hash. Issue underscore title. Okay. Oops. Okay, so this is where we are actually going to display things. Then we can do st.markdown again, and f string, and this time I'm going to go with double star, uh, because what does that give you? Double star gives you a bold one. Okay, and if you want to do bold and italic, you can go for triple asterisk or triple star, whatever. So okay, double this one, so I'm going to go with this, and let's also give it, okay, uh repo name double star colon, and that takes in our repo underscore name. Now I'm going to copy paste this. Okay, 6 times, I think. 1 2 3 4 5 times only. 5. Okay, the next one is issue URL. So I'm going to rename this to, let's say, issue URL, and paste this. Sorry, I know it's like basically repetitive. Label name, label URL. Oops. Copy that, paste it here. State, copy that, paste it here. Locked. Okay, and this is going to be, let's say, label name, label URL, state, locked, and at the end of it, if we want, let's say, a divider, a line for dividing something, I think there is a divider that exists. So you can either use st.divider, as this says, okay, this horizontal dividing line, or you can achieve the same effect with st.write this. Okay, so I'm going to go with st.write. I think you can also achieve it with st.markdown. Like that should work as well. Okay, let's come back to our main function where we had we have done the loading of data. Now let's display that data. So for, it's in the same line. Okay, so for record in data, display data record. So this would be an array of multiple objects, or array of multiple dictionaries, or array of multiple JSON, where we are telling it that get each JSON inside it and then display it. Okay, so we have done so much. Let's restart our app. So Streamlit run Streamlit underscore app.py, hit enter, let it load. Let's go back and just reload the page, and it's loading. It's going to load, and that's our data. Okay, we have received all the data. And where is this coming from? If you remember some of our data, so split and ensure started, and okay, C++ send slash receiver issue URL. Issue underscore URL is this. Apply should get me that particular issue URL. Yep. So these backticks. Okay, somehow I have ended up adding too much of data. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, but okay, so those backticks, though they are being rendered by Streamlit uh, as like as a proper output, I would say. So let's also quickly add one more thing. Let's add how many records do we have, because it seems like somehow. So one thing that I don't like about Replit is sometimes in the background it starts running, and then you're just basically doing or pushing the same data. Your main.py gets pushed multiple times. Okay, so I have written a total records, which is going to go to the collection and count the documents. That is something that exists in MongoDB. So that is going to count the documents, and where will we display it? We can display it on the sidebar. So if you know, to display something on sidebar, we do st.sidebar dot we can just do write, and we can say an f string here, total records is this total records. Okay, let's go over to Streamlit. Source file changed, rerun. Let it rerun. So total records is 3000 somehow, but let it at least let it be right now. Let's see. So we have the last one is node class ec2 node class not in labels. If I change page number, does it get me new data? Like, I think it should, but because of our reputation, I don't know whether it will. Yes, it does. Okay, so new data on changing the page number. That is good. Now, this looks so too bland right now. So I'm pretty sure we can improve that. But I think this is a good time to at least take a quick break right now. And after we come from the break, we can improve our Streamlit application. We can also add some Streamlit configuration, which I'll show you how to add it, where to add it. And we'll also delete our database, rerun the script once, and so that we only have 300 results instead of 3000 results here. Uh, yeah, any questions, anyone, about what we have done till now? So we have made a good looking Streamlit app, but it still looks, I think, a bit bland. I'm pretty sure we can improve it. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Anything before we go on a break? Okay. I take the silence as golden. Means no questions. That is good. I have shared everything in the chat, I think. So, like, I've shared the link to this Replit in chat. I will share it again. Can we develop? Yes, we can develop the CRUD functionality for sure. But we are actually doing, we are doing create, read, and update right now. We are doing a create and read. We're not doing an update, but we can do that. And we can also write a quick function to delete something. Okay. So once we come back from the break, actually I'll try and add a Python code to show you how you can drop a particular database and how you can, let's say, drop a particular collection inside a database. So are you saying you don't have an option to choose these things like the shell? You cannot choose it from here. I think the tools is kind of hidden, so you open it and then if you scroll, it should be there. If it's not, I would say create a new REPL, new Python REPL, and check in that. Okay, I don't know, sometimes it just becomes weird. Create a new Python REPL and check it in that. Also, for folks who want to go on a break, feel free. Let me put a quick banner right here. Mm, we do not have option tools. Uh, can you try and create a new Python project? Like go back to home page of Replit and go to templates. Select a select a Python template. Search for a Python template and create a new project. Basically, so go over to templates. Search for Python and click on this template. Choose that template. Use template and basically create a new project and check in that if you have access. I mean, that's the only thing that I can suggest right now because I think I have seen tools in everything. Also, can you use this search to search for, let's say, shell? Like search for shell on that top search. That should also get you the shell. Oh, my Replit. Oh, no, no, no. You can't access it from my Replit, of course. You can only copy paste. Yeah. You sorry. My bad. I misunderstood. Uh, yes, you can't access shell and everything from my uh, on my code. So from my code, all that you have to do or you should do, like let's say I've opened it in incognito right now. You just basically you should go to, let's say, a piece of code, copy paste it in yours, and that's it. So that you have the exact same code as I have. That's why I shared it. Yep. No worries. Thank you so much. Let's go on a quick break and then we'll be back. Hello, hello, hello. It's good to be back. Let me just reduce the volume. Okay, let's get this banner out of sight and out of mind. Okay, so hi folks, welcome back. Let's continue building our application. But before that, let's actually add a function to delete all the data that we have on MongoDB, because somehow I have ended up with like 3,000 uh, database records, which actually should have only been 300. Okay, so let's quickly write some code for that. Okay. Let's create a new file. I'm going to call it delete database.py. Okay. I hope people are following along. So delete database.py. The whole idea is that is going to delete the database. So step one, from py mongo underscore client, import mongo client. Okay. What else would we need? Let's see. Let's create a function delete database. Okay, so delete database, it takes in few things. It takes in the database URI, okay, or our URL. Basically takes in the database name, and it takes the collection name. It will take in these three things. Then it is going to first create a client. So client is going to be like my Mongo client with my database URI. Okay, so it's basically the similar thing that we did here. So client, Mongo client. Okay, so that's there. Then we should add a try catch block. Why a try catch? Like if, yeah, you can think of a try catch block as something like if else. So if the database exists, then you actually delete it, right? What if it doesn't exist already? Then, well, you can't delete it. It doesn't exist. So, okay, so what is our database going to be? Our database is going to be like from the client, the database name. That's going to be our database. And the collection name. Okay, now we can do a quick if check. So if the collection name that the user has given, so let's go back to our database. So collection name is issues. Okay, so if that collection name exists in database dot list collection names, this is a function in, let's say, pymongo. It basically gets a list of all collection names in the database. So if this particular collection exists in database, then database of that, like basically take that particular collection name and just do a drop, and you can then do a print which says that if collection and collection name deleted successfully. Okay, so if this happens, then yep. Else, if let's say that collection does not exist, then we can do a print if collection, whatever, collection name not found in the database. And if you want, you can also add the database name here. So database name. Okay, so this collection was not found in this particular database. And in try, you can end it with except if there is an exception, and you can give it a short name as E. Print if error okay. So that's our try catch block. Now let's create a main. So if you don't understand what is this if name equals to main, it basically means how is this program being run. So if a program is being run, if someone runs main.py, okay, if someone runs main.py, then like you do a python space python space main.py, that will run this main.py file. If you do let's say delete database, to run this particular database, delete database file, you do a python space delete underscore database.py. So then it will run this particular file. But let's say this file is imported inside main.py. If someone imports this file inside main.py, then the code in this if, so the code inside this particular if condition, that will not run. So if name equals to main basically checks how or who is running this program. Is it being run as a part of another program, or is it being run as a part of like a standalone application? I hope that makes kind of sense. Like standalone application, or is it a part of a bigger program? That's how you can think of it. Okay. Okay, so moving on. So Mongo URI, that is going to be my Streamlit application. From my Streamlit application, I'm going to basically copy this thing and equals to like paste it there quickly. Okay, but Mongo password, I need the Mongo password. Now you know actually how we can get the Mongo password. Tools, secrets, I need os dot, not the GitHub token, Mongo password. This one. So let's create Mongo underscore password. That's equal to this thing, but we need to import OS. Okay. So that's our Mongo URI. Then what is the database name going to be? So database underscore name, because we need to pass that to our function, right? So database name is going to be GitHub underscore issues, and collection name is going to be, let's say, issues. And then we call this function, and Mongo URI goes here, database name will automatically go here, collection name will automatically go here. Now before we delete that, let me create one more collection here. Let's say call it users and create. So we have another collection called as users, and let's say another like MLH. Okay, so we have 3 collections right now inside the GitHub underscore issues database. Let's come back. Let's say I don't want to drop the collection issues. I want to drop the collection which is called as GHW. Now we both, like we all know, not we both, we all know that this does not exist. So let's see what happens. I'm also meanwhile going to stop running my Streamlit application. Okay, Let's clear the console. And to run this program, we do a Python space the name of the file. So delete underscore database.py. Let's run that. Collection GHW not found in database GitHub issues. So we know that at least our if condition works. Let's say issues. Now let's run this. So up arrow, hit enter. Collection issues deleted successfully. So if I go back here and I do a quick refresh, there you go. Issues does not exist anymore. There's MLH, there's users. What if I delete everything? So let's say delete MLH as well. Delete database. MLH deleted. And what? Users, right? So let's delete that as well. Collection users deleted successfully. Now if I go back here, do a quick reload. Interesting. What is running in the background which causes this? I'm so curious. Oh, not users, issues. I'm pretty sure there is. Oh yeah, see, look at this. This program is running, which is why I was not able to delete it. Wait it. No, delete it. Okay, right now. Issues deleted successfully. So now if I go, hopefully the program has not run in the background. Reload it. Yep, empty. Okay. If there are no collections inside a database, even the database gets deleted. That's what I wanted to show. Look, this program started again on its own. God. Okay, let it insert once. Let me reload this. Once we have 300. Stop it. Okay. I'm going to delete everything that I have here. Okay. Delete. I'm going to run it once, and then what I'm going to do is basically comment out that piece of code. So let's run it. So it had 200 documents. It was just waiting for the last one. Oops. But basically, just to tell you, it's not the program. It's basically Replit being too smart for its own good. Wait. Stop. Okay. Let me actually delete this first. Issues. Drop. There's nothing here. Okay. Let me clear anything and everything that we have here. Okay. And then let's go to main.py. Let's clear the console once. Let's click on run. Okay. Let it run. Let's take like 40 seconds. Let it run. Let it store the data on MongoDB. And once it has stored everything, I am going to basically comment out these two parts. So it can run how much ever it wants. It won't be able to do anything. Okay, perfect. Total execution time. I saw total execution time. Now I'm going to comment this whole thing. Okay, so now even if it tries to run main, it will only record the start time and end time, and that's it. Okay. Whew, thank God. So now let's come back. We should only have 300 data, 300 documents. Yep, total documents is 300. And let's go to our Streamlit application and let's beautify it. So what can we do to beautify it? Well, there are so many things that can be done. Let's go with bare minimum. Yeah, as you can see, automatically it started running it. Okay, but let it run. Can't do anything. And also I'm going to clear the shell once. Okay, so what can we do to beautify it? Well, there's one thing that we could do is, let me run the Streamlit application and then show you. So Streamlit run the name of the file, which is streamlitapp.py. What happened to this? Okay, finally it started. Don't want the web view here. Let's go here, reload this. So loading. And okay, so state open and locked false. This is taking too much space. Can we put it in one line? So that's the first task. And if it is open, let's show a green circle. And if it is closed, if the state is closed, let's show a red circle. Okay, so get this in one line and show a green circle when it is open and show a red circle when it is closed. That is the task that we should do right now. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, it should be pretty simple. Let's go back here and this state and record and state and state and lock and state and lock. So just below this, let's create it as a one line variable. So we can call it, let's say, state indicator equals to, and for the green circle, I'm going to basically try and get something from the here. So green, if record of state equals to open, else show a red circle. Is there a name for this? Let's say this. Yep. So yeah, we can basically take the state indicator, and this is where we are checking if the state is open or not. So actually we don't need this one. Okay, which basically means that we don't need this one as well. Perfect. Second one would be, let's say, locked indicator. So locked indicator is going to be like, if it is like, show true if record of locked. Now we don't need to compare it with true or false, because this statement, like only the highlighted part, if record locked, it basically is a truthy or falsy statement. Okay, so we don't need to compare it with true or false, else false. And now we can do a st dot, so we don't need this record locked. Okay, and we don't need this markdown locked. We will create a new one. So st dot write. Inside this write, we will say if string and star status. So make it bold. Status is going to be state indicator, and we can add something like a pipe here, and we can just say locked Let's also add this colon here. So state indicator locked, and this will basically show the locked underscore. Oops, somehow I ended up adding the close there indicator. Yep. So now if we go here and click on this rerun option and let it load, there you go. So status green and locked false. So that's one thing that we have improved in our Streamlit application. Let's see what else can be improved. So we know this issue URL and this label URL. Okay, this label URL, we can actually make it a link button. So there's something called as a, oops, what happened there? st.link button. Okay, so there's something called as a link button where you can give it a name or a title. Go to gallery, let's say, and when you hover over it, it will change color, and on clicking on it, it will go to a link. So we can do that for our label URL, let's say, right? And the label name, yeah, we can combine both of them because the label name is good first issue, and that's the URL for it. This is the label URL. So we can combine these two things together into one button. So let's do that. So I'm going to create it just below here. So st.link underscore button, and it needs a title. So that would basically be my label name, and it needs the link where it's supposed to go. So that will basically be my label underscore URL. Yep. And now if I go here, click on rerun, now we should see a button. Good first issue. Okay, so let me first click on this one. If I click on that one, it goes to these two issues. This is the label, good first issue, and it shows this. Let's check the same for our button. Click on that one. Yep, same results. So that means, well, link button is working fine. We don't need these two fields anymore. So let's remove them. Perfect. And again, rerun. So now we have less. We can show more data for less. Okay, good first issue. And okay, what else? This repo name. So there is a repository name, which is nice. The only problem is that what if I want to go to this particular repository? I want to see this particular repository. I want to see what the project is about. I can't see that right now. So how can I see that? Like if I click on this issues link, if I remove the last part of this and go to basically home page, I can see the description about the repository and see the code base. So from our code, what we need to do is add github.com in front of this, right? If we add github.com in front of this, then yeah, that will basically allow us to convert this to a link, and we can again wrap it inside a link button. So let's do that. How do we do something like that? Well, step one, link button. Now it needs the name. So that is nothing but our repo name. And then it needs the link. Now for the link, we are going to do something like, we'll add a https dot dot slash slash github.com and then slash, and the repo name can go here. And let me tell you, there's also another thing that you can do on this. You can add a type. So the type is basically like, you can give it two colors, either primary color or secondary color. Let's say I'm giving it secondary color, and that should be it. Let's come back and reload. Nothing changed in primary or secondary. Let's try this as primary and rerun. Okay, so this is how primary looks like. This is how secondary looks like. Okay. Red is a bad color, I feel. So we should change the color scheming soon. But now we can show the repo name, and on clicking on that, it takes you directly to the repository. Okay. So that's again another improvement that we have done. So we can remove this repo name part. Okay. So that's done. I think that should be good enough. All the changes. Yep. Now, let me rerun this. Now, I want to change a few things. I want to change the primary color, the secondary color. I also want to change the font style. I want to make it more mono-spaced font. How do we do that? So, if you go to settings, here you can change it light and dark, of course. Okay, but that's the only option that you get. If you want to change the things that I said, like change the primary color, secondary color, maybe background color, change the font style. How do we do all of that? Well, we need to create a config file. So if I go to Streamlit documentation, okay, and I search for configuration, so we need to basically create a .streamlit folder. Inside that, there should be a config.toml, and that is what that is what will be picked up. So let's go back to our code base. Let's create a new folder. It will be called as .streamlit. Okay, remember the dot before. So .streamlit, and inside that, click on three dots, add a file, and it is called as config.toml. Okay, now let's go back here. Let's see theming. So this is what we need to do. We can just copy paste this whole thing. So theme and whatever is inside that, let's copy this whole thing, go back to Streamlit application and paste it. I will also share this in chat quickly. This being like the link to this documentation. So there you go, the documentation, and I can also try and share this thing. But you, of course, you need to put it on one line. And primary color, and then you can define background color, secondary background color, text color, and font. You can change it to sans serif, serif, monospace. Default is sans serif. So let's change it to font to monospace. Let's go here and let's reload this. Doesn't change. This is not how monospace looks like. So I don't know if you like quickly had a look, but if any changes are made while the app is running, the server needs to be restarted. It means that we need to basically kill our shell and restart this application again. So once you restart it, come back here, reload it. Whoops, that is white. Okay, that's too bright. But the font has now changed to, let's say, monospace font. But we also want to change the background to be darker, and we need to change the primary and secondary color. My favorite is Tailwind CSS. So if you go to Tailwind CSS website, go to color, somewhere they have a nice customizing colors. I think it's called as customizing colors. Yep. I'll share this link. So they have this very nice palette of colors, which I kind of use always. Okay. So I'm going to take the colors from here. So slate 950. If you click on it, it will automatically copy the hex code. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say the background color, instead of white, it needs to be that. The primary color can be, let's say, teal 700. I'm going to click on it. It automatically copies the hex. Come over here, paste it. So primary color. Secondary background color could be, let's say, blue 950. Copy that. Come here, delete that, paste that. Text color. Okay, if my primary color was teal 700, my text color can be like teal 50. Come here, paste it here. Now, just remember this was white and everything, but now somehow it reloaded, and that's my new color scheme. Okay. And there we go. We have also made changes to the color scheme. Isn't it nice? Don't judge me on the color scheme, of course. Okay, so that is basically most of the things. There's one last thing that I would like to show before we end the session. Uh, that is this title. So if I hover over it, do you see the name of the title? The name of the page. The name of this page is Streamlit_app. I would like to change that. Like, check the poetry one. Poetry dash Python dependency. There's like, check the check the Streamlit one. It has configuration dash Streamlit docs. It also has an icon next to it. And this is your Streamlit base icon. So can we change all of those things? Yes, we can. Okay. So let's go over, and on the top, just below where we have imported everything. Okay. That's where we need to set something called as page config. So if I go to docs, set page config. So a set page config, it can take the page title, page icons, the layout, and initially what should be the sidebar be like. And if you want to show some menu items, so let's say if I copy exactly this thing, okay, let's copy exactly that thing, paste it right here, and format it. And let me also just stop the server and restart it, restart the shell. Okay, it has restarted. Now if I reload this page, extremely cool app. It is more wider and this is expanded. And it shows more menu items. Get help, report a bug, about. Get help, report a bug, about. And these were the defaults. Okay, so now let's change this. The page title would be GitHub Issues Tracker. GitHub Good First Issues Tracker. Okay, the page icon. Well, we have our favorite. We have tortoise. Where is that? Yep, I'm going to copy it from here, and I'm going to paste it here. Layout wide. It means it is wide. Sidebar expanded. So what it means by sidebar expanded is sidebar is open. Otherwise, you can also keep it closed if you want. But right now we are going to keep it expanded. And I'm not going to have these menu items. Don't need that. And let's format this. And let me restart it. It has restarted. Let's reload this. There we go. So now we have GitHub Good First Issues Tracker. There's a tortoise there. It is loading. And we don't have additional things here. And yeah, our page changes, do they work? I'm sure they work still. So we have 300 documents. We have 20 documents per page, so the maximum number of pages would be 15. So if I we can actually type it here. We can, let's say, go to 16th page and hit enter. If you hit enter by putting 16, that should return empty, I feel, right? Yep, it returns empty. But if I go one page before this to page 15 and it starts loading, there we go. This is the last page of documents that we have. Okay, so you could do one thing. You can set a max value, which would basically be the total records divided by what page size. That is the max value. So someone cannot go above that when they click on this plus plus plus. So that is one improvement that you could do. And yeah, actually, that brings me to the end of this session nearly. I'm going to be here for like 2 more minutes. Any questions, anyone, till now? Oh, we were going to talk about deployment, right? I think there's deploy your app. Yep. So you can use the Streamlit cloud where you can deploy your app, and it basically gets the data. Like, you have to first push your data to GitHub, and then you can follow this guide to basically get all your basically understand how to deploy to Streamlit. I am not sure. I think there somewhere is a pricing page. I think like there is a limit on the free tier, but basically the whole idea is that you take your app, push it on GitHub, and then connect Streamlit to your GitHub. They have like this really nice documentation of how you can deploy your app to Streamlit Cloud. And then you can basically see your app running in real time from that. Okay. So yeah, I think that was the last thing that we wanted to discuss. Any questions, anyone, about anything that we have done till now? Let me come back on screen. Okay, perfect. So any questions, anyone, about anything? Okay, I'm going to take the silence as golden. I hope you enjoyed this session. And if you end up deploying your project, so there are few things that you can change, of course. Well, number one, you can change the number of pages, like the number of data that we are getting. We are going only till page 4 to get the data, but we can go till page 50 or 52. It was right, 5170 divided by 100. Yeah, we can go up till 52nd page to get the data. So you can basically improve that. Merging. Okay, I'm going to leave merging as kind of a homework, but it should not be very difficult. All that you have to do is load the JSON file, store it in an array, okay, and then extend that array. So load all the JSON files, store them in an array, like basically go on appending. Like you load first JSON file and you get the data and you append it to a bigger array of a, okay, then you load second JSON file and again append it to an array. third JSON file, append it to array. So like that's what you can keep on doing. And together, when you have the whole array, you can dump the data of the array into a JSON file. Simple. Okay. So that's how you can merge the documents. So that is one thing that you can write. What else can be done? Of course, get more, like instead of just good first issue, you can get good first issues and whatever topics that were there. Good first issues, first good issue, and PRs welcome good first issue. So basically collate all that data together, push it on MongoDB, create your Streamlit application, connect your MongoDB to your Streamlit application, make sure everything works locally, deploy it to Streamlit Cloud by first pushing it to GitHub, and then make sure that you don't push your secrets to GitHub. Find out how you can store secrets on GitHub so that you don't push your environment variables or anything on GitHub. So do all those things, deploy it, and if possible, if you have done this till like tomorrow, or maybe later in the week, do share the link in the Ask GHW, like basically kind of show what you have done. I would be very happy to see something like that someone has completed it and deployed it. And it can be a project that can be used by people to get all the good first issues, right? Go through good first issues. Also see how you can add tags. So like, is this a Python issue? Is it a JavaScript issue? Is it something else? How can you add those tags? Is there a way to get those tags from the API? Check that out. That would be a very good addition to this. Okay. There is a website which is called as, I think, Good First Issue. .com. Good First Issue .dev. Okay. So this is not built, I don't think it's built on Python, but browse by language. That is a good thing that exists. Okay. So how can you do that? Also add a search functionality to Streamlit. Like there's so many permutations and combinations that could be added. But yeah, make it, deploy it, let people use it. I'm sure you'll get more and more feedback and on how to improve it. But yeah, that's all from me. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you. Really appreciate these kind words. And if there are no further questions, we can actually end this session right now. I know it feels difficult at the beginning, but it's just easy. You just have to just kind of keep looking at it, keep doing it. Okay. So yep, thanks all. Thank you so much. I will see you maybe in the next GHW session. Thank you so much. See you all. Bye bye.